In the small town of Brooksville, everyone knew Emily Thompson as a devoted wife. Her husband, Richard, had been the love of her life, or so it seemed. They had been married for 15 years, and although their marriage wasn't perfect, they had made it work. Richard worked as a mechanic, and Emily stayed at home, taking care of their young daughter, Lily, who was 10 years old. When Richard was found dead in a car accident, the entire town was shocked. He had been on his way home late one evening when his car swerved off the road and hit a tree. No one knew what had caused the crash, but everyone assumed it was a tragic accident. Emily, devastated by the loss, appeared to be the perfect grieving widow. She wore black for weeks, attending the funeral with a sorrowful expression and giving tearful speeches about her late husband. But behind her sorrowful eyes, Emily held a secret, one that no one knew but her. Richard's death wasn't an accident. It was planned. Emily had carefully orchestrated everything, ensuring that no one would suspect foul play. She knew how to play the role of the grieving widow perfectly, using her sorrow as a shield. She cried at the funeral, surrounded by her friends and family, and everyone believed her. She was the woman everyone pitied, the woman who had lost her world. Lily, on the other hand, was devastated, too, but in a different way. She had lost her father, and she didn't understand why. She had questions, but no one would give her answers. Her mother was distant, cold even, wrapped up in her grief. But Lily could see through the act. Something about the way her mother reacted to Richard's death didn't sit right. It wasn't just that she was sad, it was something else. Emily thought she had everyone fooled. She kept herself busy with the daily routine, taking care of Lily, organizing Richard's things, and pretending to be the perfect widow. But every now and then, she found herself haunted by the memory of what she had done. She could still hear the sound of the tires screeching as the car crashed, the way Richard's life slipped away in an instant. It had been a necessary step, but it hadn't been easy. Still, Emily had her reasons. Richard had been a cruel man, controlling, abusive, and unpredictable. She had endured years of his temper and had quietly feared for her safety and Lily's. The night he died, Emily had finally had enough. She made sure the brakes on his car were tampered with, knowing he would drive in a hurry, not realizing what was happening until it was too late. Now, she was free. She was finally free. But as the days passed, a small part of her guilt began to creep in. Lily had been asking more questions, wondering why her mother seemed so calm, almost too calm, in the face of such tragedy. Emily kept her daughter close, assuring her that everything was going to be okay, but deep down, she knew the truth would come out sooner or later, and Emily would do whatever it took to keep her secret safe. Weeks passed since Richard's funeral, and the days blurred together in a haze of routine. Emily had become an expert at hiding her emotions, mastering the art of pretending to be the grieving widow everyone expected her to be. She continued to care for Lily, though the bond between mother and daughter was growing strained. Lily, who had once been so close to her mother, was becoming more distant, quietly observing her mother's every move. It was a Saturday afternoon when Lily stumbled upon something she wasn't supposed to find. She had been exploring the attic, a place she rarely ventured, looking for old-school supplies. Dust motes danced in the light from the small window above, and the smell of old books and forgotten memories filled the air. She had always felt a sense of curiosity about the attic, but she never thought much about it until now. As she rummaged through some old boxes, Lily found a photo album tucked away in the corner. It was a family album, one she recognized from the past. She opened it, flipping through the pages, remembering the happier times when her father had been alive. But as she turned the pages, something caught her eye. There was a photo that shouldn't have been there. It was a picture of her mother, smiling widely, standing next to a man Lily didn't recognize. They were standing in front of a house, their arms around each other, clearly close. Lily's heart skipped a beat. The man wasn't her father. She knew Richard's face better than anyone else's, and this man was a stranger. Her curiosity deepened. She flipped to the next page, and there was another picture of her mother with the same man, this time holding a baby in his arms. The baby was wrapped in a blanket, and though Lily couldn't make out much detail, she felt a chill run down her spine. She turned the next page, and there was a picture of her mother and the man sitting on a bench in a park, laughing. Her mother looked younger, but the look in her eyes was something Lily hadn't seen before, happy, carefree, and in love. Lily's hands trembled as she stared at the photos. She had never seen these pictures before, and her mind raced with questions. Why was her mother hiding them? Who was this man? And why had she never mentioned him? Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed from below, and Lily quickly slammed the album shut, her heart pounding in her chest. She didn't know why she felt so uneasy, but something inside her told her that she had just uncovered something important. She had to find out more. Lily quickly shoved the album back into the box and made her way downstairs, pretending nothing had happened. But the images stayed with her, and she couldn't shake the feeling that there was something her mother wasn't telling her, something that could change everything. Later that evening, Lily sat in her room, staring out the window, her mind spinning. The photos kept replaying in her head, the images of her mother with that strange man. Her mother had always been protective of her, but there was something different now, something she couldn't explain. She began to wonder if her mother's grief over Richard's death was real, or if there was something darker behind it. Lily's suspicion grew. She knew her mother had been hiding something, and now she was more determined than ever to find out what it was. She couldn't ask her mother directly. Not yet. Emily had always been so careful about what she said, and Lily was sure she would lie to her. But she had to know the truth. The next day, after her mother had gone to the store, Lily took the album from the attic once again. This time, she didn't put it back. She flipped through the pages again, carefully studying each picture. She felt as if the album held the key to understanding everything that had happened in the last few months. As she turned the pages, Lily noticed something else, a small note tucked between two photos. She hadn't seen it before. Her fingers trembled as she pulled it out, unfolding the paper. It was handwritten, in her mother's handwriting, and it read, "We can't keep going like this. I need him gone. You know what needs to be done." Lily's heart stopped. The note was dated just a few days before Richard's accident. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to fall into place, and Lily felt a rush of fear. She knew, deep down, that her mother was hiding something much darker than she had ever imagined. And now, Lily had to find out the truth, no matter what it cost her. The note burned in Lily's hand, its words clear as day. "We can't keep going like this. I need him gone. You know what needs to be done." Her mind raced as she sat on her bed, the photo album spread out in front of her. The shock of what she had discovered felt like a heavy weight in her chest. She thought back to her father, Richard. He had been distant, angry, and sometimes cruel, but Lily had never suspected anything more sinister. Her mother, Emily, had always portrayed their marriage as one of love and devotion, despite the occasional argument or Richard's gruff demeanor. But now, everything she thought she knew was being torn apart. Lily stood up, pacing her room. Her mind couldn't settle on one thought. What had her mother meant by the note? Who was the man in the pictures? Was it possible that Richard's death wasn't an accident? Was it true that her mother had a hand in it? She tried to push the questions away, but they refused to leave. Lily needed answers. She knew she couldn't go to her mother with this. Not yet. Emily would just deny it all, try to convince her that everything was normal. Lily could already hear the calm, soothing voice of her mother telling her not to worry, that everything was fine. But Lily couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The next morning, Lily decided to confront her mother. She couldn't keep pretending everything was okay, not when she had seen the evidence with her own eyes. But she knew it wouldn't be easy. Emily was always so controlled, so composed. If Lily was going to get the truth, she would have to be careful. When Emily returned home that afternoon, she immediately noticed the change in her daughter. Lily wasn't her usual bubbly self. She was quiet, tense. Her eyes filled with something Emily hadn't seen in years, fear. "Lily," Emily said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Is everything okay?" Lily didn't respond right away. She just stood in the hallway, staring at her mother. Emily's heart skipped a beat as she realized that Lily had changed somehow. There was something in her daughter's gaze that made her uneasy. "Lily," Emily repeated, her voice slightly more forceful. "What's going on?" Lily finally spoke, her voice low and steady. "I found something, Mom." Emily's breath caught in her throat. Her heart began to race. She knew exactly what Lily was talking about. It was the album, the note, the photos. It was all beginning to unravel. "What do you mean, sweetie?" Emily said, trying to keep her voice calm. But the hint of panic in her eyes betrayed her. Lily didn't answer immediately. She took a deep breath, her eyes locked on her mother's face. "I found the photo album in the attic. I saw the pictures of you with that man." "Who is he, Mom?" Emily's eyes widened, and for a brief moment, she seemed frozen in place. Then, she quickly masked her shock with a forced smile. Lily, honey, you know that's just old stuff. It doesn't mean anything. Lily interrupted, her voice trembling with anger and confusion. No, it means something. You said Dad was everything to you. But now I find out you were with someone else. And I find this note that says you wanted him gone. You wanted Dad to die. The words hung in the air, suffocating the room with their heaviness. Emily's face drained of color. Her hands shook as she gripped the doorframe, trying to hold herself together. She had always feared this moment would come, but she hadn't expected it to happen so soon, so suddenly. Lily, Emily whispered, her voice cracking, it's not what you think. But Lily wasn't listening. The pain in her voice was palpable. I saw the note, Mom. You said you needed him gone. You knew what needed to be done. Was it you, Mom? Did you kill him? For the first time in her life, Lily saw her mother lose control. Emily's eyes darted around the room as if searching for a way out. But there was no escape. The truth was finally spilling out, and there was no turning back. Emily sank into a chair, burying her face in her hands. She took a long, shaky breath. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. I didn't want it to go this far. But Richard, he wasn't who you thought he was. He was violent. He hurt me, Lily. For years, he hurt me. I couldn't keep living like that. I had to make it stop. Lily felt her stomach churn as the weight of her mother's confession settled in. All her life, she had thought of her parents' marriage as normal, even if it was a little rocky at times. But now she understood Richard's temper, the secret bruises her mother would cover up, the coldness in their home. I couldn't leave him, Emily continued, her voice trembling. He wouldn't let me. He threatened me, Lily. And he didn't care about you either. But when I met someone else, someone who actually cared about me, it gave me hope. I thought if Richard were gone, we could finally be happy. I thought I was doing the right thing. Lily's mind was spinning, trying to process everything her mother was telling her. The woman she had trusted, the woman she had always looked up to, had been living a double life. And now, Richard was gone, not because of an accident, but because of a carefully orchestrated plan. But Mom, Lily whispered, her voice cracking, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you trust me enough to be honest with me? Emily's eyes welled up with tears. I never wanted to hurt you, Lily. I never wanted you to know the truth. But now you know, and I don't know what to do anymore. Lily stood there, frozen, as the truth settled in like a weight on her chest. She had lost her father, yes, but now she was losing her mother, too. The walls of their world, built on lies and secrets, had finally come crashing down. The room felt colder than ever, as though the truth had sucked the warmth out of everything. Emily sat in the chair, staring blankly at the floor, her hands still trembling. Lily stood across from her, feeling as if the ground had just been pulled out from beneath her. The mother she had known her whole life now seemed like a stranger, someone capable of things she couldn't even imagine. Lily opened her mouth to speak, but the words didn't come out. The anger, the hurt, the confusion, it was all too much. She felt as though the very foundation of her existence had been shattered. Her father, the man she had thought she knew, was now a memory she couldn't hold on to. Her mother, the one person who was supposed to protect her, had orchestrated his death. Why, Mom? Lily finally whispered, her voice barely audible. Why did you do it? Emily looked up at her daughter, her eyes filled with tears. She opened her mouth to explain, but she didn't know where to begin. The guilt she felt for what she had done was overwhelming. She had never wanted Lily to find out this way. But deep down, Emily knew she couldn't keep lying. She had to explain herself, even if the explanation wouldn't make anything right. I thought I was protecting you, Lily, Emily said softly. I thought that if Richard were gone, we could finally be happy. You deserve a better life than the one he gave us. He wasn't just cruel to me. He was cruel to you, too. I saw the way he treated you sometimes. I couldn't keep letting him destroy us. Lily's face twisted with confusion. But you killed him, Mom. You took his life away from me. And now, I don't know who you are anymore. Emily felt the weight of her daughter's words crash down on her. She had always been the person Lily looked up to, the person who was supposed to protect her, not destroy everything they had built together. I never wanted it to come to this, Emily said, tears streaming down her face. I thought I could handle it. I thought I could make things better, that everything would work out. But I was wrong. I should have been honest with you from the start, but I was scared. I didn't know how to tell you the truth without losing you. The silence between them was suffocating. Lily wanted to scream, to lash out, but she didn't have the energy. Her whole world felt like it was collapsing in on her. How could she look at her mother the same way again? How could she ever trust her again? I don't know what to do, Emily whispered, her voice breaking. I thought I was saving us, but I've ruined everything. I've ruined you, Lily. I've ruined us. Lily took a step back, her mind spinning. She couldn't stay in this room, not like this. Not when everything she thought she knew was crumbling. She turned toward the door, but Emily reached out, her voice desperate. Lily, please, don't leave me like this. But Lily couldn't bear it. She couldn't look at her mother anymore. Without another word, she ran out of the room, slamming the door behind her. She didn't know where she was going, only that she needed to get away, to be somewhere where she could think, somewhere where she could make sense of everything. She ran down the street, not caring about the cold wind against her skin. She didn't know how long she walked or where she was going. But eventually, she found herself at the small park near the edge of town. She sat on the swings, her hands clenched tightly around the chains, trying to calm her racing thoughts. She thought about her father, Richard. She thought about the man he had been, the man who had hurt her mother, the man who had been cruel to both of them. But as much as she hated what he had done, the thought of him being gone forever felt wrong. And now, knowing the truth about her mother, she didn't know what to feel anymore. She had lost her father, and now she was losing her mother, too. Lily sat there for what felt like hours, unable to move, unable to speak. She couldn't stop thinking about the photos, the note, and her mother's confession. She had always thought of herself as someone who could handle anything. But now, she didn't know what to do. She felt so alone. As the sun began to set, casting an orange glow over the park, Lily stood up. She knew she couldn't keep running from the truth. She had to go back to her mother. They needed to talk, even if that conversation would tear them both apart. Emily waited for her daughter to return, but deep down, she knew it would take time. She had broken something in Lily that couldn't be easily fixed. She had broken something in herself, too. What she had done could never be undone. No matter how many times she apologized, no matter how much she tried to make it right, the damage was done. The truth had come to light. And Emily knew that her life, and Lily's, would never be the same. The days that followed were filled with an unbearable silence. Lily returned home late that night, but she didn't speak to her mother. She stayed in her room, locked away from the world. Emily stayed downstairs, her heart heavy with guilt. She couldn't bring herself to go up and talk to her daughter. What could she possibly say? How could she explain what she had done? Could they ever go back to the way things were? Lily had not left her room for 2 days. She sat at her desk, staring at the wall, her mind reeling. She had gone over every detail of what her mother had said about Richard's abuse, about the note, about the carefully planned murder. But as much as Lily wanted to hate her mother, to never speak to her again, part of her couldn't. She understood the pain that had driven Emily to do what she did. Still, it didn't change the fact that Richard was gone, and her world had been irrevocably shattered. She had heard her mother crying downstairs the night before. Emily's sobs had echoed through the house, a sound so raw and painful that it made Lily's chest tighten. She didn't know if her mother was crying for Richard, or for herself, or for what she had done to their family. But Lily couldn't bring herself to comfort her. How could she? It wasn't until the 3rd day that Emily finally broke the silence. She stood outside Lily's door, her hand hovering over the doorknob, hesitant. She knew Lily was in there, alone with her thoughts, but she didn't know how to reach her. The truth had come out, but the consequences were just beginning. Emily took a deep breath and knocked lightly. Lily, she said softly, her voice shaking. Can we talk? Lily didn't answer at first. She stared at the door, her heart pounding. The desire to stay locked away in her room was strong, but a small part of her wanted to hear her mother's voice. She wanted to understand why everything had happened the way it did. After a long pause, Lily stood up and slowly opened the door. Emily stepped inside, her eyes full of regret. She didn't know what to say, but she had to try. I'm sorry, Lily, Emily whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I'm so sorry for what I've done. I thought I was protecting you. I thought I was saving us from him, but I was wrong. I never should have done it. I never should have lied to you. Lily couldn't look her mother in the eyes. The words Emily spoke were all too familiar, but they didn't make the situation any easier. You killed him, Mom, Lily said, her voice flat. You planned his death. You didn't even give me a chance to say goodbye. I know, Emily choked out. And I'll regret it for the rest of my life. But Richard was destroying us, Lily. I didn't know how to escape him. He had such control over me, over everything we did. I was trapped. You were trapped. We both were. Lily could see the tears in her mother's eyes, and for a moment, she softened. She could see the pain, the regret, the fear in Emily's face. But even then, a part of Lily couldn't bring herself to forgive her. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you trust me enough to let me know? You should have let me decide. I could have helped. Emily collapsed onto the bed, burying her face in her hands. I thought you were too young to understand. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I made the worst mistake of my life. I can't change what I've done, Lily. All I can do is tell you the truth now. But I know that nothing will make up for what's happened. The room felt like it was closing in on them both. Lily sat on the edge of the bed, her arms crossed over her chest. She couldn't shake the image of her father, Richard, the man she had once thought of as her protector, now reduced to a shadow in her memory. He had been flawed, but his death was something she couldn't fully grasp. She had loved him, despite his mistakes. And now, because of her mother's actions, that love felt impossible. I don't know if I can forgive you. Mom, Lily whispered, her voice barely audible. I don't know if I can ever trust you again. Emily looked up, her face filled with sorrow. She knew Lily was right. Trust, once broken, was hard to rebuild. She had betrayed her daughter's trust, and there was no easy way to fix that. I understand, Lily. I know I've lost your trust, and I will spend every day trying to earn it back, even if it takes a lifetime. For the first time in days, Lily spoke without bitterness, without anger. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way. I don't know if I can ever forget what you did. Emily nodded slowly, accepting the weight of her daughter's words. I know, and I wouldn't expect you to. Lily stood up, her legs weak. I need some time to think. I need to be alone for a while. Emily nodded, her heart breaking. Take all the time you need, Lily. I'll be here when you're ready. As Lily walked past her mother and out the door, Emily felt the sting of the broken bond between them. There was no simple solution to the mess she had created. She had taken a life to protect her daughter, but in doing so, she had destroyed the life they had once known. The road to forgiveness, if it even existed, would be long and difficult. The days stretched into weeks, and Lily continued to struggle with the truth. She spent more time away from home, taking long walks, visiting friends, trying to find some sense of peace. But the silence at home remained deafening. She couldn't shake the images of her father's death, and she couldn't forget the way her mother had orchestrated it all. Emily, for her part, waited. She knew that no amount of apologies or explanations would change what had happened. She could only hope that, one day, Lily would find it in her heart to forgive her. But Emily knew that forgiveness wasn't something that could be rushed. It had to come on its own. It had been nearly 2 months since that painful conversation between Lily and Emily. The house felt like an empty shell, filled with echoes of what used to be. Lily no longer spent her days at home, often disappearing for hours, seeking solace in the quiet corners of the town. She spent time at the local park, sometimes at the library, trying to escape the reality that her life had been torn apart. She couldn't fully process what her mother had done, but the distance between them grew with every passing day. Emily tried to reach out, but her attempts were met with cold silence. Lily had changed. The bright, trusting girl who had once looked up to her mother with admiration was now a shadow, distant and filled with confusion. Emily felt that weight every time she tried to speak to her daughter. The house, once filled with their laughter and chatter, was now a place of quiet grief. One rainy afternoon, Emily decided to visit the one place she had avoided for months: Richard's grave. It had been weeks since his funeral, and although she knew she needed to face the reality of what she had done, she wasn't ready. But today, the weight of the guilt was too much to bear. She had to go. The cemetery was quiet, with only the sound of raindrops tapping on the gravestones. Emily made her way to Richard's grave, her heart heavy with the years of pain that had led her to this point. She stood there for a long time, staring at the simple headstone. Her emotions tangled between guilt, sorrow, and anger. I did it for us, Richard, Emily whispered to the wind, as if speaking to his memory. I thought I was saving us. But now I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to make it right. She knelt beside the grave, her hands trembling as she traced the letters etched into the stone. Her mind was a blur of conflicting emotions. Richard had been abusive, cruel, but he had also been the father of her child. She had never imagined that his death would leave her feeling so lost, so broken. She had thought she was freeing herself and Lily. But now, Emily wasn't sure of anything anymore. The house felt colder without Richard in it, and the silence was suffocating. And it wasn't just the silence of the house. It was the silence between her and Lily. The distance that grew wider every day. Lily deserves the truth, Emily murmured, her voice cracking. But how can I tell her everything? How can I explain that I thought killing him was the only way? As Emily sat there, the rain soaking her clothes, she realized that she could no longer run from the consequences of her actions. She had made a choice, and now she had to live with it. She needed to talk to Lily again, to find a way to bridge the gap between them. But Emily feared it was already too late. Later that evening, as Emily returned home, she found Lily sitting at the kitchen table, her face hidden behind a book. It had become a rare moment to see Lily in the house anymore, and Emily's heart ached seeing her there, so distant. Emily walked into the kitchen, her steps slow and cautious. Lily didn't look up, but Emily could feel the tension in the air. She stood in the doorway, unsure of what to say. "I've been to the cemetery," Emily said, her voice softer than usual. "I needed to talk to Richard. I needed to face what I've done." Lily didn't respond right away. She just kept her eyes on the pages of the book, her face hidden behind the words. "Lily," Emily continued, her voice breaking slightly. "I know I've hurt you. I know you can't forgive me right now, but I want to try. I want to make things right between us, even if I don't know how." Lily finally looked up, her eyes filled with a mixture of anger, sadness, and something else, fear. "You don't get it, do you, Mom?" Lily whispered, her voice barely audible. "You took him from me. You killed him. I don't even know who you are anymore." The words hit Emily like a slap in the face. The pain in Lily's voice was unbearable. She had destroyed the trust, the love, everything. "I'm sorry, Lily," Emily whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I wish I could take it all back. But I can't. I can't undo what I did." Lily stood up, her eyes never leaving her mother. "I don't want your apology. I just want the truth. I want to know why you did it. I want to understand how you could do that." Emily's breath caught in her throat. She had never thought this conversation would be easy, but she didn't realize how hard it would be to face the full weight of her actions. "I did it because I thought it was the only way," Emily said quietly. "Richard was destroying everything. I thought if I got rid of him, we could finally be free. But I was wrong, Lily. I didn't think about what it would do to you. I didn't think about how it would destroy us both. I thought I was saving us, but I wasn't." Lily's face twisted with emotion. "And now? Now what, Mom? What are we supposed to do now? You've ruined everything. You took my father away, and now I don't know who you are anymore." Emily took a step forward, her heart aching. "I know, Lily. I know I've ruined everything, and I don't know how to fix it. But I want to try. Please, just give me a chance. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right." Lily shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes. "I don't know if I can believe you anymore. I don't know if I can ever trust you again." The words hit Emily harder than any slap could. She had destroyed the one thing she had tried so hard to protect, the bond with her daughter. "I'll wait, Lily," Emily said quietly. "I'll wait for as long as it takes. I know I've lost you, but I'll never stop trying to get you back." Lily said nothing more. She turned and walked away, disappearing into her room, leaving Emily standing alone in the kitchen. The silence that followed felt like a weight that would never lift. The weeks that followed were filled with tension and uncertainty. Lily spent most of her time away from home, hiding herself in books, with friends, and at the local park. She couldn't bear to be around her mother, couldn't stand the sight of the woman who had betrayed her so completely. It wasn't just that Emily had killed Richard, it was the lies, the secrets, the broken trust. Lily didn't know how to come to terms with it all. Emily, for her part, had retreated into herself. She spent her days cleaning the house, trying to keep busy, but the constant ache in her chest never left. She knew that she had lost Lily, and perhaps she would never be able to get her back, but she couldn't stop trying. She couldn't give up, no matter how hard it became. It was a Saturday afternoon when everything finally reached a breaking point. Emily had been working in the kitchen when she heard the sound of footsteps behind her. She turned, her heart jumping in her chest. There, standing in the doorway, was Lily. She hadn't come home in days. and Emily hadn't expected to see her again so soon. Lily stood there, her arms crossed over her chest, staring at her mother with a mix of suspicion and determination. "Mom," Lily said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I've been thinking about everything. I've been thinking about you, about Dad, about what happened." Emily's heart skipped a beat. She didn't know whether to be hopeful or terrified. "I don't know what I want," Lily continued, her voice breaking slightly. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you for what you did. But I've been carrying this anger around, and I can't keep doing it. I'm tired of feeling like I don't know who I am anymore." Emily stepped forward, her hands trembling. "Lily, please. I've hurt you in ways I never imagined. I can't undo the past, but I want to make things right. I need you to know that I did what I thought was best at the time. But I see now that I was wrong. I was selfish, and I betrayed your trust. But I love you, Lily. I always have, and I always will." Lily looked at her mother, her eyes searching Emily's face for any sign of the woman she once knew. She wanted to believe her. She wanted to hold on to the idea that everything could go back to normal. But deep down, she knew it was impossible. "I don't know if I can trust you again," Lily said, her voice quiet. "I don't know if I can ever see you the same way. But I can't keep living like this either. I can't keep running from the truth." The room was heavy with unspoken words. Emily reached out tentatively, as if she was afraid of pushing her daughter away even more. "Lily, I know I've failed you, but I want to be here for you, in whatever way you need. I'll wait for you, no matter how long it takes." Lily's gaze softened, but the anger in her heart was still there, smoldering beneath the surface. She had lost so much. She had lost her father, and now, the mother she thought she knew seemed like a stranger. It would take time to heal, if healing was even possible. "I don't know what I need right now, Mom," Lily admitted. "I don't want to keep hating you either. I want to find a way to move on, to move past all this. Maybe one day, we can start over. But not today." Emily's heart broke, but she understood. She had been living with her mistakes for so long. And now, she would have to live with Lily's pain as well. "Okay," Emily whispered. "I'll wait. I'll be here when you're ready." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. They simply stood there, facing each other, as the weight of everything that had happened pressed down on them both. It was clear that the road ahead would be long and uncertain. But at least, for the first time in months, they were facing each other, willing to take the first step toward understanding. As Lily turned to leave, Emily called after her softly. "Lily." Lily stopped at the door, her back to her mother. "Yeah, I love you," Emily said, her voice thick with emotion. "No matter what happens, I love you." Lily didn't turn around, but her shoulders slumped as if the weight of her mother's words had lifted something inside her. "I know," she said, her voice quiet. "I love you too, Mom." And with that, Lily walked out, leaving Emily standing in the kitchen, her heart filled with both hope and despair. She knew the road to redemption was long and fraught with obstacles, but for the first time in months, she allowed herself to believe that it was possible. As the door clicked shut behind Lily, Emily took a deep breath, the silence of the house settling around her once more. She had done something unforgivable, but perhaps, with time, she could find a way to rebuild the trust she had broken. But for now, all she could do was wait, and hope that, someday, Lily would be ready to take that first step toward forgiveness.